I would like to thank our sponsors, presenting partners Zebra, Gold partners D-Link, building networks for people, our technology partner Acer, our Thrive Skills partner Harappa, associate partners Quest Plus, EduSkills, Ware Softtech, Eval, Map My India, and Superbot. Our university partners Shobhit University, Shulini University, Chitkara University, OP Jindal University, and Noida International University. Our institute partners Jaipuria Institute of Management, International Institute of Management and Technical Studies. Our government supporting partner Government of Telangana, AICTE. Our knowledge partners NBT.India. Our academic partners Millennium Education Management and Little Millennium, our school partners Sanford World School and City Montessori School, our preschool partners Sanford. So moving on, we have our next panel for the agenda, Technology, a facilitator for independent learning and computational thinking. For this, I would like to call upon our eminent panel speakers, Professor Dr. Ajay Rana, Vice Chancellor, Shobhit University, Meerut; Mr. Aman Mittal, Additional Director, Lovely Professional University, Phagwara; Mr. Abhay Gupta, Founder and CEO, Luxury Connect Business School, Gurugram; Dr. Sri Hari Prakash Honhad, President, Sri Padmapat Singhania University, Jaipur; Professor Dr. I.K. Bhatt, Vice Chancellor, Manav Rachna University, Faridabad; Dr. R.D. Patidar, Vice Chancellor, O.P. Jindal University, Raigad; and Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Pratap University, Jaipur.
Very good afternoon to all present here today, both on the dais and off the dais. Such distinguished panelists with me today, it is an onerous task to moderate. Well, anyway, to introduce myself, I am Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Pratap University, Jaipur, Rajasthan. Well, the theme has already been told to you, but let me first initiate with the topic basically which we have to dwell upon. Technology aiding active professional learning, research and development. The subtopic would be how to achieve scalability and flexibility in the digital education era. Well, as we all know, that the advancement in technology in education has triggered an upward thrust in accelerating professional learning, research and development. With the aid of technology, solution providers and platform, modern day educators are bridging the gap in education, communication and connectivity to propel both enhancement of joint research projects as well as skill development. Well, this phenomenon has always helped us in achieving scalability, stability as well as flexibility. Now, students in the digital education era can learn at their own pace now and work on projects that they find interesting. With the student population increasing in the digital landscape, in inverted commas, the scope for innovation is wider than ever. I think the flow of the session as I deem fit would be, if all the panelists agree, let's have a 4 to 5 minutes deliberation on the topic which you may feel to say, then we will be posing certain queries which we would request all the distinguished panelists to address. But I think I should first request each of the panelist member to introduce himself and then follow up with the deliberations. Thank you, sir. So may I first initiate with please, to the right.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and it's such a pleasure to see all of you physically. I have met many of you over the virtual meetings, but glad to see everybody face to face. My name is Aman Mittal. I am the additional director at Lovely Professional University, and had a lot of initiative, including the brand development, marketing, internationalization, and IT infrastructure. And very happy to talk about something which is on research and how the technology is enabling the research or the initiatives of the higher education system. And I just want to say that, of course, a lot has been deliberated about the challenges that COVID has brought in. But I think what I see is that the opportunities that it has given in enabling and connecting people in different zones, in different geographies, in different areas, in different disciplines. And as I speak, we have a team working on a project which we got during the COVID time when the European Union, which is of 1 million euro, and it's a research project which we got just during the COVID time. So, which we were, and LPU is the lead university in that project, where we have partners from Spain, Portugal, India, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. So all of this could have been possible because we were able to connect with people during this COVID time through these virtual platforms more effectively, and getting something from European Union, which is such a competitive world, has only been possible because we had time and we could connect with people through this virtual world. So, I mean, with this statement and with this example, I would say that the kind of opportunities in research areas that could be done through during this COVID time is phenomenal. It's about how you take this challenge as an opportunity and take an action around that. So that's as an introduction. I pass on to my fellow panelist.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sri Hari Prakash Honwad. Currently, I am Vice Chancellor at Sir Padampat Singhania University at Udaipur. It's indeed a wonderful feeling to be on the same platform as my mentors, Professor Bhatt, and very good friends all along, all the way from the other end to this end. And in fact, in addition to the nice invitation from the organizers, these are the people who are responsible for my coming over here. Let me move away from research, because the topic given to us had two components. One is active professional learning. I think let's not ignore that, and let me initiate a discussion on active professional learning. Why active professional learning? Is there a passive professional learning? The answer is yes. What we have been doing over the years essentially has been a very passive professional learning. Wonderful, bright students with a blank mind and a blank notebook come and sit in the classroom, wait for a professor who summarizes, who delivers the content in the form of sage on stage, and the smarter students put it in their minds, not so smart students put it in their notebooks. Eventually, all the students somehow try to get onto the bandwagon, and which is led by professor, not led by students. It's passive learning indeed. And there was a need to move from passive learning to active learning, even before, irrespective whether we digitized it or not digitized it. And I have Professor Bhatt, who has been a champion of active learning methodologies, and he can speak for 3 hours non-stop, even today, I'm sure, and be wonderful a trainer for this thing. I think we needed to do that. In the morning, our secretary, AIU, also indicated that we are moving towards flipped classroom. And in the digital world, it's very easy to create that flipped classroom. Before I move to the flipped classroom, let me make one point very clear. A flipped classroom is not a Western imported technology. Our Gurukuls always had flipped classroom. The most important document which we hold very dear to us and which is the most pious document, the Bhagavad Gita, is a clear example of flipped classroom because Bhagwan has only answered the questions which were raised by Arjuna and nothing else. So Arjuna is the one who has led the learning. And this we can say is true about practically every text we have from the ancient India. Our Gurukuls were essentially not only flipped classrooms, but they were the most fantastic examples of personalized learning schemes. Everybody within the Gurukul was being trained for different things. Dronacharya, if he was a great teacher, he should have converted the entire 105 of his pupils into great archers. He only delivered it to Arjuna. He made others learn something which they were good at, which they wanted to do. And there are multiple examples of that. I can go on into that. In digital learning, the first challenge that was thrown in my way was my teacher said, "Sir, 40 minutes, students have switched off their cameras, put themselves on mute. We don't even know whether they exist on the other side. We keep shouting, we call them by names, and some of them do come back. How do we take that challenge?" Simply, it was a bad methodology to be used. In a classroom, you are occupying students 120 degrees of vision. In a digital media, you have probably 20 to 30 degrees of vision, and he is distracted from so many other things happening around him. If we were to send these lectures in form of videos, typically 5-minute videos if possible, and then hold a session where only discuss what the students want to discuss, convert it into a flipped classroom, about asynchronous and synchronous modes of learning. This is how you take advantage of technology and create a flipped classroom. May not even be your own videos. There is so much of material available in terms of contents. You can let the students fish out the contents, as somebody was saying, and still go ahead and create an atmosphere of active professional learning. I'm sure we can then dwell on both aspects, learning, that is knowledge dissemination, as well as research, which is knowledge creation, and how technology can assist it. Thank you. I think I have overstepped my time. But
No. Thank you, Dr. Sri Hari, for being so apt in whatever you have said. And of course, we would listen to and understand more about active learning from Professor I.K. Bhatt, who is the guru in this field, as you have just emphasized upon. Now I would request Mr. Abhay Gupta to please say something.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it's a pleasure to be amongst all of you and the panel on stage, because these are eminent personalities from the education space. I must be humbled to own up and say that I don't belong to the academic industry, but I've chosen to come into the academic space about 10 years back. Seeing all the people face to face physically after a very long time in itself is a different experience, and I'm sure all of us are perhaps going through those emotions which we were lacking in the past 18 odd months of isolation. On the topic of discussion, I think I would like to focus on several aspects. As Dr. Sri Hari just mentioned, the format of education is changing. There is a lot of information available on the net, but that needs to be converted into knowledge and wisdom by the professor. At the same time, I think it has never been a better moment for the industry and academy to correlate, because both are at a loss. Everyone is today at a loss with respect to what is the future when it comes to digitization, because digitization is moving at a pace where even the industry or most learned people are unable to cope up. And if you're an IT professional, unless you upgrade yourself on a weekly basis, you're gone and out of the window. So the pace is so alarming that it is nothing better than a constant learning and constant correlation between the industry and the academy, because suddenly the learning used to be like marketing. Marketing was always one-sided. The brand dictated whatever it wanted to tell the consumers until there was social media. Likewise, in education, the teacher said what he wanted. And as doctor said that he noted down, the student noted, some didn't note at all, etc., etc. But today, it is a two-way communication. And the student, if he is interested and involved, he has every right to engage with the professor, which means that the professor is more under pressure. And as we are going towards the younger part of Gen Z, we are finding this challenge increasingly mounting up, because maybe we are not as informed as the younger part of the Gen Z. So I believe there are certain topics which I would like to touch upon with the permission of the moderator. What happens to craft-based learning? What happens to craft? Are we all going to become robotic? What happens to, today we are talking of the metaverse, and we will all have dual identities, a physical identity and a digital identity. What is going to be the difference between the physical identity and the digital identity? So there are many questions which are cropping up, because education will also move to the metaverse. That is the prediction, and it's going to happen very, very soon, because technology is democratizing at a very, very fast pace. And the pace of democratization has accelerated during the pandemic, which acted as a catalyst. I would rest my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abhay. And my sincere thanks that a humble name which I have, you have just taken it forward to great heights. Of course, and more heartening to know that you said you were not an academician but have chosen to become one. Well, lovely. It's heartening to know that you are an academician by choice, not by chance.
Thank you.
And I must say one more thing, that the industry collaboration with academia, which you have talked about, is the most important aspect we have to dwell upon. We have both academicians as well as industry experts here. So as I have already said, that we cannot remain in isolated islands of excellence. We have to be collaborative in all our efforts. And that is the call of the day. So with this, I hand over the mic to Dr. Ajay Rana, Vice Chancellor, Shobit University.
Thank you, Professor Abhay Kumar. Myself, Dr. Ajay Rana. I'm with the education sector for the last 22 years. Before taking the charge of Vice Chancellor of Shobit University, I was with one of the best universities in the country, not only the country but across the globe. When I joined that university, we have only 32 students. When I left this university, we have around 2.25 lakh students. First of all, as a teacher, as a professor, as a guru, the one correction. The students are, as the previous, in the opening remark, one of the persons said, the students are our customer. I'm so sorry. The students are not our customer, but the students are our product. They are our future leaders. We are the creators. We always think that what about my son, my daughter, my brother or sister become one day with a future leader. Why we not accept same thing with respect to our students? So they are not our customer, they are our product. With respect to my colleague, I remember one thing, this information technology. We Indians are so brilliant and so smart to adapt system very fast. One of the previous industry's experts said, only 20% professor and faculties are so able to adopt these technologies. I'm so sorry that the correction is that we are 37% at that time before COVID. And right now, we are more than 77% professionals who use the technology to deliver our things so that our future leaders may not be suffered. With respect to technology, that is only the media. That is only, we say that the medium, how to communicate, how to transfer our views, how to transfer our thinking from one place to another place. My colleague said that Dronacharya example. I remind you, because you are witness about all these things, during the session by Honorable, this we call the Guru, Dronacharya, there's a one patra in this Mahabharata, Eklavya. What about the Eklavya? There's a so distance about Arjuna and the 105 other person. Then how Eklavya take the entire things without any voice that he was become one of the finest persons among these 105. So thank you. You remind me these things. Now, with respect to education point of view, I'm the person who always think beyond the boundaries. When the government shut down on 23rd of March, they said, okay, now the college and university will shut down. I'm the first person who take the initiative, go with from face to the digital media. Now, with respect to our university, where I take the charge of as a vice chancellor for our one of the best university, whose background is more than 32 years. Point is that my model is 1 by 3 multiplied by 3. 1 by 3 multiplied by 3 means, I have 1.5 minutes, sir.
I haven't speak the mic to stop
Okay,
you in any way.
so thank you. So 1 by 3 multiplied by 3 models is like that. 1 by 3 means the first 1 by 3 is about face to face. Here the face to face is not like that physically, face to face with the help of media, with the help of medium, with the help of technologies, mentor-mentee, how to connect with the students, how we connect with the parents, how we connect with the grandparents. So thanks to technology, they provide the opportunity not only reach the students, but reach the grandparents too. So that is the first model. And you are surprised that many top universities in the country right now, they are not able to grab the students. They are facing a lot of problem because their parents and their market value up to what type of delivery they have. So that type of challenges by the entire education system. So that is the first one, 1 by 3. So that is face to face. Next, 1 by 3 model is about industry on demand. I'm surprised many of the industries come here, deliver the presentation, so-and-so software. Government of India gives the free of cost food, shelters, everything. What about the future leaders of our country? Is the government of India or any person give the free data to our students? No. If any persons, the local government give the free data to our 10th class, 12th class students? No. So industry or demand means, what about your expectations with respect to the education institution? So that is my second model with the blessings of my chancellor, that we should implement all these things. You come to our place. It is our responsibility to invite the industry in our premises, and we will provide you the best facilities. And the last 1 by 3, thank you, Honorable Moderator.
No, please,
and
please.
the last 1 by 3 means is IAA. IAA means Industry Academy Alliance. Why Harvard is Harvard? Why Cambridge is Cambridge? Why Stanford is Stanford? Not like that they are the world-class infrastructure. You go with a small institution where the roads and the infrastructure, when we reach the institution, not good. And I proudly said that that institution is the BITS planning. Whenever you enter the campus, you find, oh, wow, that is the Bible, not the Bible, but that is the Gita of education. So the point is that Industry Academy Alliance means you say that what type of alumni that we produce, so that they are alumni that are acceptable in industry. So with the help of these technologies, with the help of these resources, it is our responsibility. Do not bother about that there is a pandemic. Atomic, you like the one word atomic. When the one girl said the Einstein example, E is equal to mc square theory. I give the example atomic. Means attack the opportunities, implement compliance, and you say that about the how to implement these things with the betterment of our society. So that is a point. Use the technologies, aware yourself, and we are so proud that we Indians produce a maximum revenues to the IT or ITS industries. No single IT industry may be slow down, but they may be take up during this pandemic. So thank you, Honorable Expert. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Ajay, for having pondered upon so many well-equipped, data-driven topics. In fact, I do agree with you on one point that we have to improve the learning curve by creation of data and digital-driven industry-ready workforce. That is one aspect which we have to do. And of course, the second aspect, when we talk about students, when we talk about, say, students being either a customer or a product, in fact, you know, the Gurukul example which Dr. Sri Hari cited, I'll just go and extend a bit beyond that as saying that, in fact, when I talk, I say that I have 2 biological children, both of them well settled, but I have thousands of children I have still to settle. So if you start thinking in this way, all the educators and all the educationists, that the children which we have in our institutions and in our society, we have to give back to them what we have given to the children of our own. So that is how we have to start thinking, and that is what the thinking pattern was during the Gurukul. In fact, what the Pandavas got from their Guru, Dronacharya, what others got, all the kings, all the people around, they were just having a set of experiential learning which we were talking about. And it was being done by not only the Guru but the Guru Ma as well. So it was more of a family structure which we have to rebuild. It is not the legacy of the British period which we have to continue, which had decided to produce only clerks. So that is now how we have to proceed. So thank you so much, Dr. Ajay. I would pass on the mic to Professor R.D. Patidar, Vice Chancellor, O.P. Jindal University, Raipur.
Thank you and very good afternoon to everyone. I am Dr. R.D. Patidar, Vice Chancellor, O.P. Jindal University, Raigad, Chhattisgarh, an initiative of Jindal Steel and Power Limited. And today in this panel discussion, I think I fully agreed with the earlier speakers that the technology, digitization play a very important role, very significant role for the education institutions, educators, professors, teachers, and for the students. The advancement in technology, the innovation in the technology is changing the way the universities, the institutions, the professors, the educators teach, and the students learn. This technology really opens the avenues of knowledge economy. I fully agree with the earlier speaker, learned speakers, that the one of the most important stakeholder, which not a customer but a product, that is the students, and the ultimate purpose, objective, the aim of institutions to make the students employable, globally competitive by developing the desired 21st century skill in the students. Today we are talking about the online teaching, but here we must clear about the various modes of online teaching, whether it is a synchronous mode or asynchronous mode. Whatever we switch during this pandemic from offline teaching to online teaching is a mode of synchronous online way of teaching. And whenever there is a discussion, whenever we say majority of the advantage, they are related to asynchronous mode of online teaching. Teaching anytime, anywhere is an advantage of asynchronous mode of teaching. So we should understand, we should clear between the difference of synchronous mode of online teaching and asynchronous mode of online teaching. And the ultimate purpose is, as I said, that the institution should make the students employable or the industry ready. How we can use the technologies to bridge the gap between industry and academia. In O.P. Jindal University, in our university, the university is surrounded by more than 100 small, medium and large scale industries. Our philosophy is like a medical college cannot open without a hospital, engineering or the science institution should not open without industry. But the most important thing is today, how we can use the technology to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And the second most important thing is, we are talking about the technologies, but how we can use these technologies for the benefit of the students. I think the most important thing first is there is a huge investment is required in every institutions to build the IT infrastructure. And second, the extensive use of the IT infrastructure. Third most important thing is, as said by the earlier speakers, that the professor, the teachers must be core learner. Learning, unlearn and relearning should be the continuous process in every institution. Third most important thing is, there is a need to upgrade the methodology, the pedagogy. The learning by doing, the exponential learning is the most important form of the learning where we can use these digital technologies. So I think the institutions should focus on the experiential learning. And another part is the evaluation and the assessment system. There is a need, there is a complete revamp is required on the assessment and the evaluation system of the students so that we can finally make the students industry ready. Rather than judging the students by their scorecard, we should judge the students by their skills. Today, the way the technology is changing, where the industrial needs is changing, because of the disruptive technologies, like the artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, data analytics, Internet of Things, the requirement of the industry is changing. And it is very, very essential for the educational institutions to use this technology in a way to develop the students, make them industry ready. So these are the initial comments from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Patidar. Now I would request Professor Bhatt to please dwell on the active learning part, because you know, when we have termed you as a guru in that, so the learning, relearning and unlearning aspect, according to Professor Patidar, should be benefiting us all.
I'm Aiki Bhatt, working in Manav Rachna University. The Manav Rachna University has 2 universities and 10 schools. And fortunately, we have been able to make the system future ready by quite some time now. In fact, when the lockdown was imposed from 23rd of March, and we had known that there are certain cases of COVID in the month of July, February, and it was felt that this is the period which is very critical and our students should not get affected. So we started from 8th of March, not on 23rd of March when the lockdown was there, but when the 8th of March, when there was a lot of messages were there that this is spreading, and we stopped our students from coming to the campus. And between 8th and 13th, we trained our teachers for using technology. And from 13th onwards, in fact, we started with online learning. Now, when we look at all this, it means that we would have not been, all of us do agree that none of us would have been able to communicate with our students, educate them, make them what we talk about the future-ready students for the workforce in industry and other places or other organizations also. So this helped us. The preparedness, in fact, in terms of infrastructure, helped us in starting much earlier than what others have done. Now, when we look at the national education policy, now the national education policy says that in higher education, and most of us are from higher education, says that it has to increase from the current status of about 27% to 50%, which is almost doubling it. Now, it requires then so many universities, more number of universities, more number of institutions which will impart knowledge to the students. And this again means you need to have so many teachers also. It is not only the physical infrastructure, but the teachers are also integrated there. So what is important is that this technology which we are talking about is an enabler for all of us to help us in educating our youth, imparting them certain skills which are necessary for him not only to work in an industry, but also to become a good human being. And that is very, very essential. How do we impart those skills using the technology as well has become very, very important. Now, initially all of us, in fact, must have struggled when the COVID came and the lockdown was imposed. All of us must have tried different platforms, using different softwares, using different tools. But ultimately, over a period of time, all of us were in a position to finalize what is the best tool, what is the best platform for us in order to communicate with our students, and so that do it effectively and efficiently, so that the time which the students have is not wasted and is utilized effectively. So, in my opinion, the technology is not something which we only use as a communication mechanism. I think it should help us in automating systems, which is very, very important because technology does that. But it should also open avenues for our research, our thinking, which is very, very important. And if it is not doing that, then it is a stale. It is as good as making it a stale thing. So therefore, it becomes very important for us. And this time, it is a great opportunity for all of us, in fact, to use this new technologies and keep on reinventing, working on it, making it better and better, because the future will definitely demand those things. Now, when we look at certain things which have happened actually, which this transformation, during this digital transformation, using technology has one good thing which has happened is that the walls between different departments have actually vanished. It was a computer science guy helping some other person. Similarly, there were cross connections and collaborations among the faculty members. I'm not talking outside. There has been a lot of outside influence on their studies also, but even inside also, a lot of collaborations have taken place, and this is a very good thing, in fact, which has happened. There are three major things which need to be considered while we are talking about technology. One is the business model which we are using, and in academics, what type of tools are we using will become very, very important. We need to understand, going from the physical process to a completely online process does require a lot of things also. So the technology is changing. How do we keep on updating ourselves will become important. It is not only, many of my colleagues here have already said that the new technologies like AI, ML, all these things have happened. But these technologies are also evolving. You can see the blockchains are coming, and people say that by another 5 years, blockchains will cover almost 75% of the market actually. So therefore, there is a great scope in working with these aspects also and educating our students. And therefore, whatever technology we use, it must be flexible in order to have all these future aspects connected with this. Another thing which is very, very important as far as the business model is concerned, see, as of today, many of us used Coursera, edX, and look at their total number of courses which they have. They have about 3,000, 3,500 courses. But look at the number of teachers which we have in India. If every teacher gives one course, we will be in a position to produce it in maybe 1 million of such courses. And they will be relevant, there will be, the context will be Indian context, and we will be in a position to educate our children about our value system and the technology as well. So therefore, we need to personalize this education which we are talking about, where every individual, looking at his strengths, chooses a particular field and works in that particular area, and that is what is important. There could be an engineer who is interested in music, and therefore our system should be in a position to provide him extra support in order to pick up those things also, which will become important. And whatever we do must improve the student's experience, which is very, very important. And we should be able to measure the learning which is taking place among the students, which is important. If we are not measuring, assessing the learning aspect of it, then it is absolutely no use teaching our students. The assessment is the key to learning actually, and therefore it should become a part of our model, business model, which we are adopting in this case. The second is the operational implementation. How do we internalize this whole technology? And there must be complete communication, improved internal communication among different aspects, and pick up those aspects which is very, very important. We should in fact focus when we are looking at using technology for teaching our students. The current systems of lecturing, whether it is a synchronous mode or an asynchronous mode, does not work well. We need to, what was said, somebody said, it is actually the project-based learning which will become ultimately most important, because the student will pick up that course, will pick up those lessons and those aspects and do work in those areas which will become important. So therefore the project-based learning, the problem solving, case studies, portfolio preparations, research-based education, and now it has to be a research. If India has to go ahead, it has to be the research-based education, even at an undergraduate level, which will become very, very important. And we should ensure that there is a collaboration. All the projects which we are doing have to be in the collaborative mode, so that there is an interaction. And this collaboration is not within the class, but it could be even outside. You can open your project to the whole globe, and there could be one person from Australia, another from US, third person from India, and they are doing a project which will teach them the cross-cultural aspect also, which is very, very important. And the third is, are we meeting the students' expectations? Whatever technology we do, whatever e-courses we prepare, ultimately what is important is, are we satisfying the students' expectations will become very, very important. So the products and the services at the institution, right from the admission to the convocation stage, which means the life cycle of a student, has to be covered by using appropriate technologies, appropriate infrastructure, and appropriate e-material which is to be given to the students. With these words, maybe right in the beginning, I'll just stop here and thank
you, Professor Bhatt. Thank you so much for
this.
enlightening us on such vital aspects of academics and related aspects which tend to transgress academics more towards industry and more towards employment, as well as how assessment should be done. Now, well, sir, thank you so much for telling us about Manav Rachna. I wouldn't take much time, but I would just like to inform you that even the Pratap group is 25 years old and Pratap University 11 years young. And the entire group has about K-12 schools and about higher educational institutions in Lucknow, Kanpur, a medical college and hospital in Bhopal, and an upcoming hospital and medical college in Jaipur also. So what I wanted to emphasize was that recently, as a leader of the group, I have in fact synchronized the efforts and resources of the entire institutions belonging to the group, and digitization has helped me a lot. We have been able to connect with all the alumni across the globe, whether in Brussels or whether in Colorado. So what has happened is, we have told them that if you have to upskill yourself and you are feeling deficient in that, come back to the institution virtually. And 121 alumni, I am happy to state, have registered for such skilling up efforts from the faculty, from resources outside the university. If we don't have resources, we have given them certificate courses and they have upskilled themselves, and they have told us that they are very happy and they are a part of the institution. I always tell my students, sir, one thing, as I had told Shri Prakash sir that day. You cannot remove two things from your resume. One is the name of your parents, the other the name of the institution from which you have studied. So please, you are a part of us and we will remain a part of you. So that is how we go about. Sir, we are, I think, transgressing the lunch time for our distinguished audience here, but it is not entirely the fault of the panelists here. So I would just give 1 to 2 minutes to each, say, honored panelist to answer a query which I may have in mind. Just, sir, 1 to 2 minutes. So I hope you would request, my request would be kindly looked into. So I would, Mike. So I would ask Mr. Aman Mittal first. Sir, how can educators contribute towards scaling the cycle of education with technology. Scaling the cycle of education with technology.
See, I think now with the COVID, everybody has learned that how the technology can play a role in teaching, in imparting the education. So I think that part has already been learned by all of us here in this room. And the question is, how can we scale it up? I think it's about adopting the technology more appropriately. And I know there is a disconnect. Somebody was saying that we need to look at the services to the student and try to fulfill that, which makes them a customer, while Dr. Ajay mentioned it to be not a customer but as a product, because we have to take those product to the industry. So I think scaling up would happen, should happen, basis the requirement of the industry. I also consider that students are our product and the organizations are the ones who are actually buying our products. So I think scaling can happen only once we start working with the industry, knowing their requirements, and then delivering those requirements through a digital mode or an offline mode. But I think it's a hybrid mode which would work well for all of us. I mean, we know it that something can be given digitally, but not everything can be given digitally. So I think the scaling up can happen, understanding the requirements of the government, of the organizations or the companies, and packaging it rightfully using a digital and an offline mode.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aman, for explaining the things so well, and of course adhering to the time also, sir. So I would hope Dr. Shri Prakash would also enlighten us on, can Indian institutions achieve the flexibility to propel research and development via technology? I have used research for you because you are always talking about active learning. Sir.
Yes, why not? I mean, we have been talking about academia collaboration, and the technology is going to bring us very close together. Our individual advantages are going to get multiplied, because something you are good at and something I am good at, if we both collaborate as a team, we will be good at multiple things. It's like 1 + 1 becoming 11. I'm sure it would really enhance, and technology would support that, because technology would save a lot of time and effort on our parts. COVID notwithstanding, even when we will be allowed to travel, I'm sure a lot of us would be very happy to get connected online and collaborate. So research, what does research want? It starts with an idea, and then you build on that idea, and of course then you need to test it out. So
thank you so much, sir. And in fact, you have said something which is very close to my heart also, that is collaboration.
Yes.
And getting together and building things. Let's be competitors, but let's be healthy in our own intonations. So, Mr. Abhay, can I ask my, anyway, sir, please, I'll ask you the question only, that is all. The question would be, how do the educators of today fare in the usage of technology for imparting skill enhancement with the help of digital channels and routes? 2 minutes, sir.
So we've been looking at statistics, and there is a debate in terms of how many educators are today competent to use technology available. But I would only say that the educators, being educators, they are learning fast, and the number is changing very, very quickly. Also, the younger lot of educators, being more closer to technology or more closer to the consumer, they are able to adapt themselves at a much faster pace. Having said that, it is not that the senior educators are not in a state to learn. I think we have been very good learners, and India has done extremely well. As Dr. Aman said, that India has always been a leading nation when it comes to technology. So I don't foresee any challenge with respect to that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abhay. In fact, when you say you don't foresee any challenge, I am happier. Dr. Rana, sir, the other query I had in mind was just give me a small idea as to what would be the step-by-step guide for students to achieve flexibility in education for their benefit.
Because we all are the educator family, we are all professors. So for your point of view, because you have the 2 minutes, like the one, when I was the French or the German delegation, I heard the one word during my academics when I passed out from the college, the word that was so famous, that is ICT, Information Communication and Technology. What about the current scenario? AI, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, or you say the blockchain, they are not the new words. When the Madame Curie received the second time Nobel Prize award, Madame Curie used the same word. Ki, I need something when I said and the machine may respond. So that is the vision by Madame Curie when she received at that time the second time Nobel Prize. Now the current scenario, or all the industries and the educationists, now the current word is ICD. ICD means innovation. You think beyond the boundaries. We are in during pandemic, we learn lot of things. And we are so lucky that God provides such opportunities how to face the challenges. We are witness about the Mahabharata or Ramayana or many other things. But the God provides this opportunity that how we tackle, how we save ourselves and our family. Second word is communication. If you have innovation, and if you are not able to communicate your ideas, then that is not about the leadership qualities. To develop the leadership qualities, the communicate. If you have idea, please communicate these things. If you have innovation, communicate these things. If you are not able to communicate your innovation or your idea, the other world, which so-called Tulsa is our patent, we call the Haldi is our patent. Some other persons, we call D means die. Our idea die, some other person, other countries may adopt this idea. From this point, I'm not here to educate you because we are same family. And thank you to all technology partners that helping us to produce a good leaders across not only our Mother India, but our Mother Earth. Thank you, esteemed moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. In fact, we are getting educated because of the fact that learning is collaborative. And as Dr. Sri Hari had said, you have certain ideas, I may be having certain different ideas. So when we come together, learning becomes all the more comprehensive. So thank you for saying that. Now, Professor Patidar, there is a BCG report that only 30% of the digitization transformational initiatives reach their target value. That is because of lack of skilled talent deployment. So what is your take on this, just for 2 minutes, sir?
I think you are very right about the data you are telling, and the educators educators play very important role on it. With the support of the innovation, creativity, critical thinking, and the cooperative mindset of the educators, with the support of the technologies available, we can aid the peoples from different fields, different areas, and to resolve this challenge and the issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Bhatt, contrary to the popular belief that technology is the only aspect which is important, some people say that people are more important. Now, when we talk about skill development, when we talk about technology versus people, may I request you to give me your take in 2 minutes, sir?
See, when we look at the education per se, I think the education should give our students basically the knowledge, the cognitive part of it. It should also help them in using different tools which are evolving, and they must be very quick to learn it, agile to do it. And the third part is interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships have to be set. If we are looking at a good educational system, then all these three aspects have to be, and these are what actually are 21st century skills which are required. So they must be competent, there must be creativity, and all this can be achieved if we are going to the project mode learning or such type of new processes which are evolved, which have already been evolved in pedagogy before this pandemic came, and therefore we need to use them. If we are in a position to use them, people will work together, work collectively, cooperatively, and I'm sure that it will help people to become conscious about their responsibilities towards themselves, moving ahead in their career. And the second is talking about their friends, their family, the community, and ultimately the Mother Earth, which is very, very important.
Many thanks, sir, for having given us a wonderful description of how things can be done. Now I think it is time, because the timer is always showing us time's up. Yet I would go one ahead further and just give me a one-liner of whatever you feel on this particular aspect and topic. One liner, sir. I'll start with one liner. Any one line on what you feel.
So I feel positive and collaborative feelings are coming on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Hari, Shri Hari.
No matter what happens, the good teachers and good students will make the best of the situation. I think that's my take on the entire discussion. Those who go out of their way, the teachers who want the students and the students who want the teachers will find each other and find a way of doing the things.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abhay.
In my opinion, the role of a typical professor is changing from being a professor, teacher to a mentor to a coach. I think he today needs to be a coach more than a teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Abhay. Dr. Rana, your take in one line.
So one line means, as a teacher, our responsibility to produce the future leaders. So I request you all, if you are MBBS, doctors or engineers, inherit about these things, ethics, values and sanskar in the future leaders.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
In addition to imparting knowledge and skills, we should also focus on the developing the positive attitudes in the students.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Bhatt.
Our role, in fact, has become much important as far as India is concerned, because we have that demographic advantage. So building leaders for tomorrow should be our the focus, and I believe that what Swami Vivekananda said, that the people should, the students ultimately, when they go into the society, must be physically fit, mentally alert, intellectually sharp, and spiritually elevated.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhatt. In fact, it has been a wonderful session, and I myself as moderator have gone a great learning today with such distinguished panelists being with us.
Sir, it's the moderator who has been the fantastic and who has made sure all of us got to speak, and he held the
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for
topic together.
Your compliments. As Dr. Rana says, one word. I have only one word in mind. I always feel from my heart whatever I feel. I always do whatever I feel from my heart. The mind comes second. Let's come together, all of us in the auditorium today. We cannot ever remain in isolated islands of excellence. I always say this. Let's come together and let's do it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. These were really empowering words from your side. Now I would like to present the token of appreciation, and I would request Dr. Abhay Kumar to provide the appreciation of token to Professor Dr. Ajay Rana.
But first I would like to congratulate Ardor.com, Mr. Chandan Anand and his team for this wonderful summit today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We have Professor Dr. Ajay Rana. Next we have Mr. Aman Mittal. Next we have Mr. Abhay Gupta. Next we have Dr. Shri Hari Prakash Onwad. For next, Professor Dr. I.K. Bhatt. Next we have Dr. R.D. Patidar. Now I would like to request Dr. Shri Hari Prakash to facilitate Dr. Abhay Kumar sir with the token of appreciation. I I would like to thank all the eminent panel speakers over here. Thank you so much for your time. So, before going to the lunch break, I would like to request you all to kindly fill in the forms present in front of you and drop it at the counter outside the auditorium to participate in the lucky draw organized by Jebra. They are gifting 5 beautiful headphones specifically designed for educational growth. I would also request panel members to stay back as we are facilitating your renowned institution for an exemplary work in the sector of higher education during valedictory and award ceremony. 5-minute break for lunch. Thank you.